Today we're going to look at transposing algebraic equations again, but we're going to do harder versions. So this time we have squares and square roots, and they are just the opposite of each other. So for this first one, we're going to get x by itself. So the first thing I want to do is get r away from x. So if these are multiplying, I'm just going to divide. So it just goes down on the bottom of that fraction. And I'll show you why in a second. It'll become apparent when I do it over here. Okay, so then what's the opposite of a square is a square root. So I'm going to take the square root of all of this and make it equal x, and we're done. So if you divide something, I'm going to move both of these things at once. So this could have started off looking like this, right? Then I divide by q, then I divide by r. So you can actually take both of these terms and just divide by both at once. And that's what we're going to do down here. So I'm going to move the 2m as a division altogether. There's no need to separate them out. All right, so the opposite of a square root is squaring. So that's what I'm going to do over here. But I need to square all of this. So it's going to be quite important a few times to be using brackets when necessary. So just make sure the brackets are in the right place so that you don't accidentally square the wrong things. Now, I want to get x by itself, and the usual rule is that we don't move the letter that we're trying to get alone unless we have to. And in this case, we have to. Because it's on the bottom of my fraction, that's the bit that I need to move first. So if these things are dividing, I'm going to bring this across as a multiplication. And now that I've got this here as an x, I'm going to bring all of this across as a multiplication. A division. So if these are multiplying, I'm going to bring this across as a division. Now, this is kind of annoying, isn't it? So we don't really want multiple divisions within the same fraction. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So what we're going to do is actually multiply by the reciprocal instead. So if I've got r divided by this, remember I can multiply by the reciprocal. So what I can actually say that this is the same thing as saying r times 2m over p squared. And then I don't need the times sign, do I? So I can just call this r 2m over p squared. Easy. Well, maybe not easy, but it makes sense. All right, next one over here. This time we're going to get h by itself. So the first thing I'm going to move is the things outside of the square root sign. So these are multiplying, so I'm going to divide by pi r. And then I'm left with the square root of h squared plus r squared. Then I'm going to move my square root sign next. So I'm going to have a over pi r, and all of this is getting squared. H squared plus r squared. Then I'm going to get rid of my r squared. I have not left enough room for this question. Minus r squared. Then I'm going to take the square root of all of this. So let's sort of go back up here, seeing as I didn't leave enough room. So I'm going to say it's a over pi r squared minus r squared. I'm going to take the square root of all of that, and that is equal to h. Okay, oh, I should have had h squared over here, shouldn't I? Silly me. All right, last one. So I'm going to move things around again. So I'm going to move the front bit first. These are multiplying, so I'm going to divide equals the square root of m over g. Then I'm going to undo my square root sign by squaring. So t over 2 pi squared equals m over g. Now this has become like this one over here, where I need to move the bottom of my fraction first. So I'm going to bring that across as my multiplication. T over 2 pi squared equals m. Then I'm going to divide by this. So I'm going to end up with this reciprocal problem again, because I've got m divided by this big thing, t over 2 pi squared. So then I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal instead. So then I'm going to say g equals m times 2 pi over t squared. All right, now I know these are more complicated than the ones we've done before, and I did some of these a bit fast, but I assume that's only because I'm adding new information, not creating new conceptual ideas for you. So please get in touch if this was a bit tricky and you still have questions. Good luck.